He wants us to live out our lives the way he intended, with no death, abundance of life. See, everything that God wanted us to have is opposite of limitation. It's opposite of restrictions. It's opposite of lack. Everything he wanted us to partake in is of abundance. So how can you have abundance in life? Well, there's no death. How can you have abundance of health? Well, there's no disease. How can you have abundance in food and
Hello, everyone. We are back with part 2, and we're going into week 5, talking about abundance.
Abundance. That is the anthem of the hour. But what is abundance, right? You know, just looking from a kingdom perspective, an eternal perspective, our Father's lens perspective, you have to examine the precepts. And one thing that I've discovered, my wife has discovered, is that when it comes to abundance, it has basically nothing to do with the way it's been presented now, right? It has nothing to do with the fallen state when we speak to monetary gain, or we speak to the system's overall leverage, capitalism, things of that sort. That's not what God is speaking to, right? Because we have to go back to Genesis, because that's where we identify abundance. We identify abundance in Genesis 1, right? 29 through 30. If you look at that, you can see that God has given his children, right? Creation. He chose to create us to be the heirs, the children, yes. Right? And he gave us abundance at that particular time. He extended all the resources of the land to us. All the resources. Think about unlimited resources. Think about the last time you actually had unlimited resources. It's not happening, right? In a fallen state, in the sense of man ruling over another man. But that's not the way God intended for us to live out our lives. So the first talking point I want to speak to is going to be that there was no medium exchange to actually have access to these resources. Mm-hmm. There was no barter systems, right? No barter programs. There was no appeasement involved. So what are we speaking to when God is saying to his children, you may partake in any fruit, right? Any tree, any herb of this land, right? He already gave us dominion, authority, rulership. So now he's speaking to all the free gifts, all the abundance that he wants to also render unto his children. Now, it amazes me how now in the fallen state, we think abundance is about a resource that actually came from the source, but we've turned that resource into the source. And what am I talking about? Money. Talking about money. Now, I've even heard somebody coin this phrase, well, money isn't everything, but it ranks somewhere up there with what? Oxygen, right? Oxygen. Now, that's very essential. You're going to compare money to oxygen? Well, let's go back to the book of Genesis, wherein God has given his children everything freely. He's given it to them without saying, hey, by the way, I want you to do X, Y, and Z to actually get this from me. He's not saying any of that. He's actually saying, I want to freely give this, and you may partake in it freely. It's only when we come into the fallen state, I want you to hear this clearly. It's only when mankind actually comes into a fallen state that he's away from his abundance. Think about that. Somebody else is now ruling over the abundance that you as a person should be, I wouldn't even say entitled to. you should be able to partake in, right? It's not an entitlement thing, right? Because it belongs to you as an heir, right? Like, let's think of in today's time, a kingdom, how it's structured. And many times when you think about kingdom, you're going to think about all the bad kingdoms, right? Negative kingdoms. Nothing to compare to God's kingdom, but we'll actually, compare it because this is the only thing that we know. In a sense of we haven't sought after our true positions. We haven't sought after our true dwelling place. It's so much to this kingdom, and it goes on and on and on and on. But let's make a comparison just for face value, okay? Prince Charles is now on the throne of the UK, London, right? Am I saying it right? All right, so even though Prince Charles is on the throne, you have Prince Henry, and what's the other prince's name?
Nope.
Okay, so you have Prince Henry, I know that for sure. At any rate, they're able to partake in what Prince Charles is able to partake in because it's a kingdom ordeal. It's a kingdom matter, right? So all the abundance that King Charles has, right, is the same abundance that Prince Henry has, etc. The same thing when it comes to our Father. The only difference is that our Father has no limitation with the resources because he's the creator of the resources. All right? I want us to understand that clearly. So when it comes to abundance, we don't have limitations. As kingdom citizens, as heirs, as offsprings, right? We don't have limitations. Some may say, well, I can test that. When you don't have money, you're not going to eat. I understand exactly where you're coming from, right? You don't have money, you're not going to eat. Well, God, he's so wonderful at suspending his laws when it comes to the natural laws of this, land, etc. God can do what he wants, when he wants, and how he wants. But when it comes to kingdom, we're speaking to what is supposed to be versus what is by subjection. What if we were birthing children and parents actually knew about their true rights of abundance, and we were saying, hey, by the way, anything in this land is yours, right? All the resources of the land is yours. You can partake in it freely. There's no capitalism involved because every man can actually labor, but they're laboring for themselves. Isaiah 65 is not in vain anymore, right? You ever went to work and you were so tired after work and then, later on down the line, you're paying bills and you're like, man, my money is just going out the window and I'm actually, working hard. I'm laboring. That's what you call laboring in vain. You're actually working. You're going to a job or you have a business. You may be self-employed, whatever the case may be. But once you've actually done all that you have done to earn, right, what this fallen state has given you is wages, not abundance. They're giving you wages. Then now you're subjected to now pay somebody else because of their labor that they did for somebody else. And it's all just a trickle effect, right? God never intended for us to operate that way. Believe it or not, right? Even though money is present on the scene, God made it very clear throughout Scripture, choose this day whom you'll serve, right? Mammon or me. It's mighty strange that he did not mention choose this day whom you'll serve, Satan or me. He continually said Mammon. The reason why is because he knew that system would have a hold on so many people that nobody would want to stand up to it. Nobody would want to stand up to it because everybody is now feeling like this is the only way we can survive, right? The only way. And God is trying to get his people to come back to their rightful positions so they can understand that this is what true freedom looks like. Let me really show you what true freedom looks like. And it has nothing to do with the man ruling over another man or a resource, right? Us bowing down God's glory because we're his children to a resource. You're seeing homeless people on the street, etc., right? That does not express abundance. God never intended for any of his children to be without. That's the problem, okay? Right? So think about this. Without a barter system, without a financial system in place, without a man ruling over another man because of capitalism, what would you have to have in abundance to just have a blissful life, to have a wonderful life, right? What did God give mankind? Adam, right? Which is the representation of all mankind, right? He gave Adam dominion, right? Authority, rulership, sovereignty, right? We don't even want to say that because it's sketchy, right? It's scary, right? He gave it to him. That's what he gave it because he said, my children are an extension of me. It's just like an earthly father. You want your children to have all that you actually have to give them, have to offer them. That's the same way the Father is, God, right? He's not some deity where it's like he's spaced out. We just look at him as a deity, God, and then it's us. No, he said, I am your Father. I'm your Father. I take care of my children, right? And that's what kingdom is all about. It's bigger than just a king or a dictatorship, so we may think it may be, but it's not. A kingdom is everything that God wanted us to partake in because he's our Father. He wants us to live out our lives the way he intended with no death, abundance of life. See, everything that God wanted us to have is opposite of limitation. It's opposite of restrictions. It's opposite of lack. Everything he wanted us to partake in is of abundance. So how can you have abundance in life? Well, there's no death. How can you have abundance of health? Well, there's no disease. How can you have abundance in food and things that are good for you to maintain, right? Well, there's no barter in place. There's no bartering system in place. There's no exchange system in place. So every man eats. Jesus even demonstrated this in Matthew when he actually, split the atoms in fish and loaves of bread, right? He was showing right then, look, I can do this anytime I get ready, right? You look back in the Old Testament, God is taking care of 600,000 plus, if not millions of people, Israelites coming out of Egypt, right? He's taking care of them through abundance. For 40 years, he's raining manna and quail off the sky. Their clothing did not wear out. Somebody talk to me. So this is the ideal of abundance, and that's in the fallen state. That's in the fallen state. That's in post-fall. Okay, so I want to conclude this with you understanding we must get back to our rightful places, right? This is not about religion. This is not about something conjured up. This is a book, which is the Bible, that is telling us about a kingdom, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. And he's speaking to each and every one of us, his children. Prodigal son, come back. I'm not upset. I know you fallen. I know you gotten out of your rightful position, your rightful place. But I want to put the ring on your finger, right? And I don't want to put it on your finger for the fact of you thinking that this fallen state or this fictitious manner of abundance is it. It's not. I want you to actually partake because when I wrapped you in the earth suit, that earth suit was incorruptible. It was never supposed to fade away. Yeah. Right? That's what he's trying to get us back to, reversing all back to the abundant state. And so I think I talked the whole time. I'm sorry, I get excited, you all.
Well, it was
I really do.
It was your time to talk.
I really do, but I know. But I get excited. And you all, this book has done so much for me, just sitting in my quiet time. And my wife, I know she sat in her quiet time. And it's just doing so much for me because it's having me to even go deeper and deeper into things of our Father, right? It placed a special relationship between me and my Father because, prior to, I did view God as God, like a deity. But then it's like, I'm your Father. I just want to take care of you. I just want to be here with you. I just want to have you to just partake in what I intended for you to partake in. I just want you to feel it. I just want you to just bask in it. That's what the Father is trying to get us to do and be about, right? And not just in a futuristic sense, but now. See,
I have this saying that I love that he hears me say all the time. And it's when I feel like I'm getting anxious about something or worried about something, because we really don't have to worry. And that's what we're saying here.
Right.
We really don't have things to worry about.
Not
even when our world gets turned upside down.
Not at all.
Right? Because everything is going to fall into the hands and the care of the Lord. And it's times where the enemy tries to make me fearful to say things, and then the next thought is, oh, well, he's going to test you in this area. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if that happens? But I'm embedding into myself, and he's my witness. I have this little saying, either he got it or he got it. I know the ultimate source. Either he got it or he got it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it puts my heart and my mind at ease.
Absolutely. And again, it's not limited to just the resources when it comes to, money, things of that sort. Right? We're talking about an abundance of life. Mm-hmm. That's what God is talking about. That's what our Heavenly Father is talking about. Right? Abundance of all things. Abundance of all things. Abundance of all things. And so we have to assure that we're spreading the good news that Jesus brought back. Jesus simply brought back the message of your original intent, the original state of mankind. And by the way, look at me and I'll show you what we're all about. Okay. And so that is abundance. We're going to wrap it up. Hey, as you all know, continue to walk in the blessings, recognize the blessings, and acknowledge the author of the blessings. Take care.